Today, I have some very, very fun little doodles to show you guys. I decided to create a sketchbook spread about turtles, so just everything is like, I guess, a turtle or a tortoise or like a snapping turtle. I was taking some inspiration from a spread that I've done in that was my last sketchbook, was that tiny thing in the corner. So if seeing me draw a bunch of goofy turtles, etc. sounds like something you would enjoy, I'm Rory Fluent. Feel free to call me Rory. I like to create dope art content and hopefully a chill atmosphere. So if you're new around here, hi, hello, how are you? Feel free to let me know in the comments down below. And if you're not new around here, what is up, my dudes? Let's get into this video. I first started this spread, I saw something, and I can't remember what it was. I think it was a video. I think it was a Big Tug video, which if you've never seen him, you should totally Google him on, TikTok or YouTube, because he's fucking hilarious. And he was talking about how, I believe it was him, he was talking about how, when turtles, shed, maybe, I don't know, I'm just gonna stop, I don't know if it was him or not, but whether it was or not, you should totally check him out because he's very funny. But that being said, I guess that the little flakes that come off of turtle shells when they're shedding their shell is called scoot, which I just thought was adorable, so I actually just really, really quickly jotted it down in my sketchbook, and so that way when I returned to my sketchbook I would remember that and maybe be able to complete the sketch and kind of create a theme for the spread around that idea. This video is definitely a really good example of the new way that I'm trying to film, where I'm really intentionally placing the camera so that you guys have more angles to look at and maybe don't see everything that I'm doing all at once, and have just a closer look at the textures of my paints and the art supplies I'm using and all of that, so it's not just the same shot throughout the entire video. This is also the first spread where I actually decide to start working on the spread in clusters. So I start up in the top right corner and I actually fully complete that whole little chunk of doodles where I paint them, I do all of the small details, I even ink them, and then I move on to the next part of the page. And I don't know, I was watching one of Gel Arts' videos and I saw that was how they chose to shoot and film their videos, and I thought, you know what, that's, a nice change of pace. Maybe it will give you guys more to look at and more interesting things to look at. And so I decided to go ahead and try filming at different angles and to try completing parts of the spread individually instead of just one bird's eye shot of the spread as a whole. I don't know if any of you guys have ever tried to draw the front, front view of a turtle, but it's kind of terrible and it's really difficult and hard to do, and they look really strange. And I think that has to do with most of it being about shading and less about the lines, but it's awful and they look really, really strange. And so I was really trying to force myself to draw the front facing view of a turtle so that I could figure out how the hell to draw their faces. I don't know whether or not it's disappointing or a good thing, but I end up really loving and enjoying the first few sketches that I kind of complete to fruition, and I don't know, the rest of the spread ends up being a little lackluster in comparison to these three here that I'm working on. But as I've mentioned in a previous video, what I really ended up not liking about this spread was that I used almost the same interval of these two colors every single time. So the shell was always kind of this pinky brown color, and their skin was always kind of this green gray color, and so there just wasn't enough variation and contrast in the spread to make one individual turtle stand out more than the other. Sure, there's size contrast going on, but that's about it, honestly, when you look at the entire spread together. And in the end, I really felt like this spread suffered from a lack of color and contrast variation. I did try integrating a burnt umbery color to see if that would help, but in the end I just layer the pink like right back on top, which the pink is, it's Potter's pink, and then the green I believe I mixed from Schminka's olive green and probably some sepia. That's normally how I end up getting sort of like a grayish green color. And so, I don't know why I end up like layering the pink over top of the shells that I want to try and be brown, because that brown was really necessary to add some contrast, but I do, and because of that, it doesn't help. It doesn't do anything. The two colors have just overwhelmed this page, and there's nothing I can do about it now, but like looking at it almost hurts my eyes, because like my eyes just won't focus on one single sketch, and that's so annoying because individually I like all of them. And, like, obviously you don't have to judge your sketch spread by the entire composition and color and theme of the spread. I just really enjoy it, and so it's definitely a little disappointing that the entire spread, like, as a whole, or almost as a piece in of itself, didn't turn out better. But, like, individually as sketches, as I've mentioned, I adore these sketches. I think they're very lively, and I think the emotion in the turtles, and whatever you want to call them, turtles, tortoises, and snapping turtles. I have all of them in here. I really love them, and I love the looks on their faces. I think that I was expressive in conveying the emotion in the turtles, and that was really exciting. I feel like that's not something that it's not something that I think about too much anymore, because I really focused on expressiveness in the beginning of this sketchbook, and I got it down, and now I just don't really think about it. I just really love making things look goofy, as I think I've mentioned in at least one video before, one of my favorite little quotes to think about from Casey Golden, where she is talking about how if your art isn't making you laugh, you're doing it wrong. And so, looking back at these turtle doodles, I definitely think that I did a good job of making myself laugh while I was making these. I think this is definitely a pretty good part where you can see where I kind of was just using too much of the same two colors and really needed to start variating them, and I didn't. And I definitely think just like different colored shells would have helped a lot, and keeping the green kind of to tie everything together, I think that just would have been way better. And so looking at this spread, I just think it's pretty obvious like how the two colors are really just not helping each other stand out, and so it's a little hard to decide what sketch to look at from a composition standpoint. And for whatever reason, obviously you guys can tell that this is like going so fast. I have it at like 8 times speed, but this spread took me forever. I don't know if I was just like carefully thinking about every single one of my damn decisions, but like, oh my god. I don't know what it was about these turtles and etc., but they were absolutely taking so much time to paint. I also think that kind of comes from my indecisiveness lately with like figuring out my style and what I'm trying to do with it, and what I'm trying to focus on, and how I want to grow my style. But that's not really what was happening in this spread. I think it was like subconscious, if anything. I just think I was taking my good old time or something. God. I do love how the big turtle in the middle kind of looks like he's running from something. He's like, like running from danger. Like I mentioned, the expressions that I got on these doodles I was incredibly happy with. I also always like when I can kind of show a spread from start to finish. So when I sit down and I sketch and then I paint and I do the detail work and then I ink, and you guys can kind of see everything that I put into a spread, where obviously most of the time I'm sketching off camera because I like to take my sketchbook with me places and I don't always have like a good camera set up there. So not to mention the lighting. The lighting is always the worst, I'm sure. Anyone that you've watched on YouTube could tell you that. But yeah, you know, I don't always have the ability to film but want to sketch, and so I still really like painting on camera. It's a lot easier than sketching just because, I don't know, sketching feels like something that's supposed to be like for leisure, and like filming it makes it kind of not that. So sometimes it's just not always what I want to do. I kind of feel similar about my iPad and like drawing on my iPad and stuff. Like, it's kind of hard to want to film me painting on my iPad because I just want to like curl up into a ball on my bed and paint and Procreate because I can. And so to have to like go sit at my desk and kill my back and film and try and make sure the ring light isn't covering up, you know, and reflecting from the iPad screen, it's just all a giant headache where I could just be curled up in bed doing my own thing. But I do want to show more Procreate paintings and more of my process on Procreate because I'm really enjoying what I'm making there. Obviously, I mention it like every video, but it's true. I'm really enjoying what I'm making on my iPad, and so I'd love to cue you guys in on that process and just show what I'm doing from start to finish and be able to make a full video about the things that I'm painting in Procreate because more often than not, I'm very proud of them lately. Because of that, that's why I ended up kind of creating a very loose chat with me video just about some of the things that I've made in Procreate off camera because I wanted to document them and I wanted anyone who's interested in my art to see what I'm capable of. To see what I'm capable of on Procreate because I'm really proud of some of that stuff even though I didn't make a video on it. I decided to liven up this spread by adding like bushes growing onto the turtles, but all it ends up doing is adding more green. I don't know why I did that. Why didn't I make the bushes a different color? I do think I end up throwing like a Naples yellow color in there, and that definitely helps, but then it's just like 3 one-noted colors. It helps, but it kind of doesn't, and it's awful. It's really just terrible. I don't know what I was thinking. I wish I had varied the colors a lot more. I think that would have helped. I will say that the texture on the bushes definitely ends up helping the second part of the spread, where there's just more lines and more variation in the line work because of that, but the colors are just killing me. It's all I want to talk about, but then I also don't have anything more to talk about with them. So as you can see on this spread, I was trying to paint like the front view of a turtle in a couple of my doodles, and the first one that I'm painting that's like a front view, he just kind of looks like a weird monster. I don't think that turned out very well at all, but the second one does end up turning out pretty good. It kind of reminds me of the sketch on the top right corner of the right page, where it's goofy and fun, and it kind of makes me giggle to look at. And then the Naples yellow, I do end up integrating with some like, what are they called? Like stingray looking creatures. I was just kind of trying to fill some of that negative space because I think one of the other things that ended up happening on the right spread or the right page is that all of the spacing of the sketches is very redundant. So it's very similar in every single sketch except for those 3 in the corner that are all kind of smushed together. The spacing is just so similar, and so I wanted to fight that with the stingrays, and I'm not totally sure that I did, but I don't know, we'll see. They're definitely not the most, like technically correct stingrays. They're just little doodles. I was trying to fill up the space and add more color, and you'll see me go back and forth between the stingrays and the other page of the turtles as I complete the spread. Of all things, I actually tend to have a really fun time drawing like the front view of a stingray where it's kind of looking dead on, where like the side views kind of confuse me because where their wings attached to their bodies is normally in photos only insinuated kind of by like color. There's no clear-cut line where the top of them starts and the bottom of them starts. I do wish that, like, as a part of my degree, we were supposed to have a class that, like, better covered color theory, and the class was a bit of a nothing, and so I wish that we had better gone into color theory, because everything that I know is from YouTube and just experimenting and, I don't know, just, like, inadvertently understanding things about color by surrounding myself with art. I also forced myself for about a year to try and only use mixed colors, so that way I could also figure out how to, I don't know, just make colors that I don't own, and how different colors interact with each other, and so on and so forth. And so I spent a lot of time trying to figure out the kinds of colors that I personally like, which are very deep earthy tones, more muted colors. I don't really like very vibrant colors, which I think is why that, like, pale yellow and deep violet clash for me a little bit sometimes, because that deep violet verges on being a little bit too intense for the color palettes that I like. But here, using, like a pinky red and then a green color, you would think that they would work together because they're complementary from each other, and complementary colors make wonderful pairings, but don't mix them because you will inevitably get some sort of shade of brown if you mix them. And I think that's kind of why using them in a very similar, like redundant amount throughout the entire spread kind of causes the whole spread to look a bit muddy, because your eye's just bouncing between green and this reddish pink, and it doesn't really look the best as a spread. But again, as individual sketches, I love them dearly. I really like the one at the bottom that's almost like snaking along the ground. I kind of forgot about him. I want to put him in the Procreate and see if I can make like a little sticker template out of him, because stickers are like a long-term goal of mine. But if you ever want to learn about color theory, I definitely think that you can just, learn how to apply and use color by just surrounding yourself with artists, with art content, and understanding how other artists use color, and figuring out the kinds of colors that you like and you think look good together, and then coming to an understanding, of, Michael sells these, like, on a side note, Michael sells these, like, $1 color wheels that kind of, like, move and adjust and tell you the names of the different color groups, like tertiary, secondary, complementary, etc. And it's super handy, so I would highly recommend getting one of those if you're hell-bent on learning the technical names of colors and color groupings. But generally speaking, the colors across from each other on the color wheel, no matter what type of color you're using, will look very well together and contrast very well, and so create a nice juxtaposition, but won't mix well. And from there, with your yellow, blue, and red, you can, do all of the mixes that you need, and understanding warm and cool tone colors, so like this spread is incredibly warm toned. I'm not using any cool toned colors, meaning that there's not a lot of blues and deep violets, and there's more yellows, orangey colors, reds. They pull a bit warmer, even though you can have like cool toned oranges. So even though orange as a color is generally considered warm, you can have a cooler toned orange that has more, maybe, what's the color mix of orange, red and yellow? So maybe it has a bit more yellow, pulls a bit, feels a bit bluer, I know that's a bit of an odd description, but literally, if you look around you, you can kind of pinpoint colors that look warmer, look more orangey and yellow and red, and then you can see, like, within warm-toned colors that look more blue than other warm-toned colors. And if you set a cool tone and a warm-tone red next to each other, it's going to look very, very different. And so experimenting with that and kind of maybe starting with your warm and cool tones and your color groupings is a fantastic way to start understanding color theory and how colors interact with each other, so you can create more diverse but complementary, and I don't mean that in the technical color way, color palettes. And I'm definitely not claiming to be an expert. Like I said, I wish that our color theory class in my degree had been a bit more thorough, but I truly believe just by surrounding yourself with art content on YouTube and reading about the choices artists make can help you to inadvertently understand color theory, because for a long time I felt that I didn't understand it because I couldn't define what color theory was. And I don't know, from my understanding and what I've come to determine is that color theory is a lot of things. It is like defining colors and the way they interact with each other. And that is an incredibly complicated process that requires a lot of hands-on experimentation to fully understand. And even understanding color theory, I can still make mistakes and try to pair colors together because I want to see what happens, and then realize that they don't work, or they clash for one reason or another, or try to mix colors that in the end don't actually work and create a muddy brown, and I have to dissect why that happened to me and what choice I made that led me to creating the color that I was not looking for. And so with all of that being said, this is my final spread. I am very happy with the sketches individually. I love the 3 in the top right corner. I think that the bottom kind of left right of the page is really nice, or oh my god, so the bottom left of the left page into the right side of the left page. I really love the little turtle that looks like he's munching on something and is going all chaotic right next to the turtle that's been grabbed right out of the water or something, and then the one that's kind of slugging it on the bottom, and then on the right page, those ones in the top right corner I really love, and I think that they're very expressive and turned out exactly how I wanted them to, which is really exciting. So if you've made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching, and I hope I'll get to talk to you in the next one. Bye!